Right, but I'm sure you've all seen that interview, both from the BBC and both from Gary Neville on the overlap, talking about what Jim Radcliffe said. He talked about the debt, the finances, new stadium, players out on loan, how Manchester United would have gone bankrupt. I'll be going through all what he said. He also talking about backing Ruben Amorim as well. So let's get straight into it. Listen, he talked about players leaving. He talked about Dan Ashworth, but he said some players are not good enough and probably overpaid. He said if you look at the players we're buying this summer that we didn't buy, we're buying Anthony, Casemiro, Onana, we're buying Højlund, we're buying Sancho. These are things from the past, whether you like it or not. We've inherited those things and you have to sort it out. Now, this is in reference to United still have to pay 89 million for those sorts of players that I just listed there. Even though they haven't signed him. Now, he did talk on Ruben Amorim. He backed him. He said he backs him. He said he had his unwavering backing. He said a long list of injuries have hampered a coach who arrived mid-season in a tough league with English as a second language. He said if I look at the squad which is available to Ruben, I think he is doing a very, very good job, to be honest. I think Ruben is an outstanding young manager. I really do. He's an excellent manager and I think he will be here for a long time. Ruben is doing a super job. You're seeing a glimpse of what Ruben can produce. I think you saw a glimpse about that. Saw a glimpse about what he can do against Arsenal. He said Ruben is not perfect. He is, as most coaches are, an emotional character. He's not perfect, but he's a great supporter of Ruben. He said he wants a dressing room that is full of people who are totally committed to winning football matches. He won't tolerate people who have 100%, who don't have 100% of that attitude. The players have to be in the same box. He then talked about obviously Kobe Mainoo and Garnacho. He said we won't be selling players because of the state that we are in financially. He said the club has got so bloated, so we reduced it with a lean and efficient organisation. That's how we will address the cost. The players' decision will all be focused on how we are going to improve performance. That's all. Now, he was then asked about the mass redundancies that were made at Manchester United, and he said all the money that the 300 million that he invested to the club's all gone. He also talked about how if we didn't make the cutting of the 40 grand, the increased ticket prices, getting people, or not getting people, but sacking people, United would have went bankrupt. So listen, it was very, very interesting to see what did happen with that. But in terms of that, what else did he say? He was a very, very interesting thing. He said United also expect to announce a 100,000 seat stadium tomorrow. It was a very, very intriguing interview. He said he talked about United going back to be one of the best, why he chose to invest in Manchester United. It was very, very intriguing. He talked about the money. He said Manchester United would have run out of money. November this year, the club went out of cash. He said, I think the money we are spending at Manchester United, not as my money, but as the fans' money. Should I be spending the fans' money on a free lunch, or should I be spending fans' money on a new player who might win some silverware? That's how he looks at it. And you can see it. That does make a lot of sense. He talked about the wrongness of making the Erik ten Hag decision. He said we gave Erik ten Hag the benefit of the doubt. It was the wrong decision. It was an error. I think there were some mitigating circumstances in having made that decision, but at the end of the day, it was the wrong decision, so hands up. Listen, he said under ten Hag it was erratic. Obviously, we won against... there were some great performances, for example, against Man City in the FA Cup. However, there were some times where United didn't show up. He said obviously the lot of scrutiny which you get in his deserved. And listen, I don't buy most of this interview. I think a lot of it's for PR just before a new stadium's going to be announced. I mean, the fact that he is speaking is a huge difference to what the other owners have done in the Glazers. They've ruined their football club. He said if you spend more than you earn, eventually that's the road to ruin. He said £37 million was paid in interest, but was a more pressing issue. Interest is one of the biggest costs at this club. He then talked about one of those errors with Dan Ashworth. He said the chemistry was not right, leading to his departure. He said, I agree with Erik ten Hag and Dan Ashworth, decisions were errors. I think there were some mitigating circumstances, but ultimately they were errors. I accept that and I apologise for that. If you look at the time he made the decision about Erik, the management team hadn't been in place for more than 5 minutes. He explained adding that was difficult to do. So again, he is kind of justifying that Erik ten Hag. I think many people believed it was wrong. He said, I don't think it's mission impossible. I think it's good to have goals and objectives. That's on winning the league by 2028, the club's 150th anniversary. I don't think we're going to do that, but as I said, it's always good to have ambitions. Now, the final bit, this is from the BBC. The club is also preparing to announce plans that could see the most iconic football stadium in the world being built to replace the existing stadium as part of a wider regeneration scheme. An announcement is expected on Tuesday. The clubs finish up in a very, very different place in 3 years' time to its been in the past. In Murray Ratcliffe added, I think it will become the most profitable club in the world. I think we may well at finishing the most iconic football stadium in the world, and we'll finish up winning silver again. Listen, Ratcliffe wants a new stadium, you can see it. He's had, I think, Norman Hunter or something like that to design the stadium. He said how important it is that he wants the best in class stadium, and I think that's something that's going to be announced soon. But overall, as I said, reading the interview with the BBC and watching the Gary Neville interview, it was very interesting to see. I thought Gary Neville did answer some good questions. But listen, United are still in debt. The Glazers are not going anywhere. Look what they've done to this club. Like, Old Trafford is one of the most historic places. I think it was built in 1910, so over 100 years definitely of history there. It's one of the most historic places, and when you go there, it's one of the best stadiums. It's the best stadium I've been to. And back in the days, it was getting regenerated, but ever since 2005, when the Glazers come in, they haven't reinvested into that stadium once, and you can see it is rusting, it's rotting, it's leaking, the toilets, just everything, the whole infrastructure at the club. And that's why Ineos want to build a new stadium. That's part of their plan now. It's going to be funded by Ineos themselves. So they're probably going to have to borrow money from somewhere, use the revenues, because we're so broke at the moment. But again, listen, it was a very interesting interview. I could probably talk for 20-25 minutes, but I'm going to leave it there. It was a very intriguing interview, the one with Gary Neville. As I said, they're working on the same committee, but again, he did ask some decent questions. They talk about how the Glazers live miles away, 3,000 miles. They do not really have input. And I think, yes, Ineos have made a lot of mistakes, but I want to give them time. They've done a lot more than what the Glazers have done in the 20 years that the Glazers have been here. They've actually put in a football structure. They've brought in players who are competent to do the job. Yes, they've had a few issues, but hopefully in the long run, this sets in stone, having that football structure, play recruitment, a director of football, Jason Wilcox or Marbarada. Like, we have a decent manager, Ruben Amorim. I do think we have a decent players. Yes, we probably need more. But yeah, there's some of the big bits that he went through. He talked about how he backs Ruben Amorim, the new stadium that is expected to come in. United would have run out of money if we didn't take all those cut all those jobs. But let's see what happens. I'm going to leave it there. Peace.